Happy Friday, everybody. Feels like we were just doing this because we were, and we have not really stopped since last night. Thank you all so much for tuning in to the PHNX Coyotes Podcast. Don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe wherever you get your podcasts, leave us a 5-star review. I'm Leah here with Craig and Petey. We got Sean behind the Mac. We have our new Damn It dolls that Petey just gifted us. I haven't taken mine out of the plastic yet, but basically it's kind of like something you take out your anger on. Oh, just a way to cover my face.
Was not at all prepared for it to show up right there.
Because we can get frustrated here sometimes as being involved with this organization and this franchise, and you need to be able to take that anger out at times.
Absolutely. So
in a constructive way.
That's what we got going on. We had a long morning at the Ice Den in Scottsdale to wrap up the Coyote season. Put a bow on it, as Craig said to every single person.
That was put a bow on it.
But it is a good way to sum up what we did this morning. We had the chance to talk to a handful of players and Coach Tourigny and Bill Armstrong. We have video from that. So we're going to, give our biggest takeaways from wrap-up day this morning and the season as a whole, because this is it. We're done.
I'm sorry.
Craig.
What is the damn it doll wearing? I need to start there.
A bodysuit.
That's not just a normal bodysuit, is it? Have you been in a store where they sell bodysuits like that? I mean, I
can't
say
that
I sell any bodysuits, but what's he wearing?
I don't know. It's fashionable though. It's fashion.
Is it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Craig is stuck on this, but
that's
not
a mood. It was a long day, but it was interesting because you got to see the perspective. It is like the last day of school. It is everybody packing up their. Honestly, you saw a lot of players hugging each other. You saw that goodbyes and all that kind of thing. They did have business to attend to. They had meetings with coaches and management, and they had to do some exit medicals as well. But it was really kind of a, gosh, this race to the marathon we've just been on is over. Yeah. And I think there was a lot of emotion there. It was a fun place to be around today. There's a lot of smiles. Yeah. Even though they're out of the playoffs, I think it was a fun atmosphere today. It was a group that overachieved.
Yeah, and a group that was really tight, and that's probably part of the reason that they overachieved and were in a good mood today, in spite of the fact they finished with the 6th worst record in the league. It speaks to what this team was this season. A really tightly knit group of guys that even when they shipped out 5 veterans at the trade deadline, this team somehow found a way to win 6 of its next 7 games.
And that was something a couple of the players spoke on, was the fact that they did what they did right after the trade deadline, and they rallied together and did that. And I think it's a testament to the leadership in the locker room. That's a huge thing that came up a lot today, was the leadership group and how strong that is. And when you're talking about last year to this year, and I think obviously it shows in the points, would they finish with 57 last year to 70 this year? That's a huge point increase. So you look at the leap that this team made, it's in a lot of intangibles too. And the fact that they did all that with the brutal road schedule off the top. But what everybody said about the road schedule was it brought everyone closer. We had time on the road together. We got to have dinners together, go out, hang out, go do stuff. I don't know. I'm just my overall takeaway from this morning is I just feel I feel impressed and almost proud of the team and what they did, even though they're going to get the 6th or 7th overall pick. And that wasn't what the goal was.
Damn it. It was not. They did not accomplish the mission. There is no doubt about it. But we talk about what they did accomplish this year and what got better. And I think what we talked about, that chemistry off the ice, created a better product on the ice. And I think that their ability to believe in each other and the guy that sits next to you in the locker room and play for that guy and play for each other allowed this team to do things they didn't do last year. They competed for 60 minutes. They didn't do that a year ago. They would go in spurts last year. They weren't consistent. Most impressively is they were able to come back when they were behind, and they were able to be 2-3. Even last night we saw 4-1, but they didn't quit. This team didn't quit, and they played for each other. And that is something we didn't see last year. And there were so many moments that they could have done that and probably should have. The trade deadline, you look at all of the bodies that left the door. There were guys that lost their friends and teammates and line mates, and yet they go on a winning streak. And I think that just shows the resiliency of this group and how much they believe in each other, which made them better on the ice. There were better individual performances as well. I know we'll talk about later too, but as a team, they were better on the ice.
And you know what else this says is it speaks to André Tourigny and the culture that he's created. We hear that word so often, culture. Everybody uses it when a new coach comes in. We're going to establish a culture here. This was a culture. This was a team that was picked to finish 32nd. They all said it today. Like, everyone had us 32nd in the NHL. But it starts with a coach that these guys played for. They wanted to go hard for this guy. He straddled that line between, authoritarian, not authoritarian, just boss and friend. He straddled it perfectly. And I wanted to read something that Bill Armstrong said about him, because while we don't know what's going to happen with the staff yet, they're all entering the final year of their contract. I wrote about this today. That's something that'll be resolved at some point, whether it's in the summer or in the fall or even around Christmas time. But I asked him, without doing the deep dive, the evaluations that they'll do this offseason, what his takeaways for André Tourigny were. And he said, he's exactly what I described when we hired him. He's extremely focused. He brings culture into your organization. And at the same time, he can get the best out of players without leaving a scar. I thought that was an interesting quote. He said there were some other guys that were right in the running for the job, and I felt that they were really good coaches. But at the end of the day, I was concerned they would push so hard that they would leave a scar. With him, I wasn't worried about that. That's an interesting quote.
It is, and you can go to some of the personalities that we've seen here, like Rick Tocchet. Rick Tocchet would have, and this is no affront to Rick Tocchet. I love Rick Tocchet and what he's been able to do for me and this franchise. He would have had a harder time, and that's his expectations would be. And this is, I don't want to put this in the wrong way, because Rick Tocchet came from Stanley Cup champions, and he wanted to win, and he wanted to win so desperately that when you don't win, you become frustrated trying to fix why you're not winning. And sometimes your team isn't built to win, and this is one of those situations, and I think that would have frustrated him. I saw it with Dave Tippett in 2015 when he had a team that was less than average, and the frustration level on him made it difficult for the players, because he was so frustrated trying to find a way to win, until the light finally went on late in the season going, we can't win. Like, we're not good enough to win, so let's look at it differently. And it's André knew it coming in.
Yeah.
He knew what he was signing up for.
It's a big part of it, right?
Where those two coaches came in here with playoff aspirations. He came in here knowing exactly where he stood. And one other thing I think is interesting. Bill brought in people that are good people. And when I mean, and I know the staff, I believe that, but I mean the players.
Yeah, last year and this year.
Yeah, it wasn't a room full of difficult guys, or God, how we're going to deal with this player or that player. And locker rooms have that guy, or two guys, or three guys, or those guys that pull other guys with them. We've seen it in Winnipeg. We saw that team almost get out of the playoffs because of what's been going on off the ice in their locker room. That can have an effect on how the team performs. This team didn't have that. And I think that helped all of those things together. The players that Bill brought in, the ability and coaching style of what André Tourigny brings, the leadership within the room itself, all of those things gelled at the right time and made this team the special connective group that they were.
Yeah. And another thing that Coach Tourigny said this morning was kind of emphasizing also like the need for mental rest as well as physical rest. And we obviously saw that they had to jumble probably one of the most ridiculous NHL schedules for an individual team.
Even for the Coyotes.
Yeah, even for the Coyotes, but just across the league, they had to deal with that. And then they were on the road for those 20 games to start the season, and then they'd come home and you think it's a homestand, but it's really not. And you're playing 1,000 back-to-backs, and then you're playing 4 playoff teams in 5 days. Like, it was just ridiculous. And we saw over and over again this season them try to have to balance the practice schedule. And we joked a lot about how this team never practiced, but they didn't really have the time.
No.
And something that I respected from Bear was the fact that he valued rest and saw how much of a tool that was.
And he listened to the people that are supposed
Yeah.
to be looking at those sorts of things. He listened to them. He trusted them.
And that's hard because coaches want to coach.
Yes.
And the last thing you want to do is, I think rest isn't used enough as a weapon. And I think it takes a very secure coach in what he believes in to pull that off. Because there's always that doubt, gosh, we should skate. We should practice. We should do more. We should
what's
push
ownership
them.
thinking?
Right.
Yeah, exactly.
And for this team, I clearly believe one of the other reasons they are where they are in the standings, and I know it's not a playoff team, I get it. But the way they were able to get more wins than a year ago is that they were able to use rest as a weapon. And they did listen to their players. And that's, again, it's unusual to see
Is that a
that.
song? Stop using rest as a weapon. No, sorry.
I got nothing.
Petey knows what I'm talking about.
Yeah, what is a weapon? Is it love? Is it
No,
love?
sex.
This is a family
show.
No,
Craig.
it's not. It is rarely
I don't know.
a
I just
family
listened
show.
to the ASU show.
I've heard your
whole
Roman
buddy.
Reed's
Buddy, the guy.
Well, ASU is
that
not a
delay
family
button.
show.
They need that delay button
Yeah.
for the ASU show. Oh,
Oh,
beep,
man.
beep, kids.
That's implying that we're saying things that we don't want people to hear. We're fine with people hearing what
No,
we
it's a
gotta
great.
say.
I just told Leah prior to the show today. I said that's my second favorite show because this clearly is my favorite show. But that is my second favorite show here. However, just earmuffs.
Yeah.
That's all.
No kids in the car when you're listening to that one.
Great show.
Tagline
Great
for
content.
ASU is "We might offend you."
And listen to today's episode. By the way, I'll sales pitch it because they talked to ASU football coach Dillingham, and it was a fantastic.
Yeah.
What a neat human being he is. I don't know football from a hole in the wall, but he is inspiring. He was great to listen to. So listen to it after you're done with the show.
Absolutely. One more thing about last year's team to this year's team that we need to mention is Mullett Arena and the home record that this team had. And we asked a lot of the guys today about what it was like playing and what, made playing there so successful. And we heard, a range of things from, I don't think a lot of teams knew what to expect coming in. Also mentioned, it's right in the thick of things, which that's the whole point of being in Tempe. Just saying, we joke about the Tempe flu, but I think it's real. Mullett was a real home ice advantage this year. And I think it played a huge role in how this team finished.
21 wins.
Yeah, it's interesting to hear what they said, though. And one of the other things they said, I know, again, this was the worst road team in the National Hockey League. Dead last, 32nd. But you talk about their home record, they're middle of the pack. This isn't the best home record in the league, but it's middle of the pack. It was 17th, which is pretty impressive. And when you talk to the players, they mentioned things like the ice, and they mentioned the crowd. And they said after playing years in Glendale, when you'd score a goal and there'd be nothing, it was crickets. And you know how cavernous that building felt on some of those games, midweek game in Glendale. Every game here had that energy. And I know there were fewer fans. I get it. I was there. I understand. But you scored a goal and the crowd erupted. And I wish I could remember by a bad memory, somebody said today that was part of the comeback from last night. Because after I got the first one, the Fish said that after the first goal, the crowd got into it and that inspired the group. Yep. Absolutely had something to do with it.
Especially they had so many comebacks. I think they tied a Coyotes record or something in 13 comebacks this season. Just crazy. So I'm sure Mullett played a huge role in that. It's interesting, and it's interesting to think what's next for this team. We'll get to that kind of more toward the end. But Coyotes, they're not gearing up for playoffs, but a number of teams are. We have all the Eastern matchups set. The West comes down to
tonight.
One game tonight, and then we'll find out. But this is the best time of the year with the NBA and NHL playoffs happening simultaneously, and it's the best time to bet. And you should do so on BetMGM. If you haven't signed up for BetMGM yet, it's the perfect time because if you use bonus code PHNX when you sign up, you'll get $200 in bonus bets on your first wager with BetMGM. Here's how it works. Download the BetMGM app, sign up using bonus code PHNX, place a pregame moneyline wager in the amount of at least $10 on any market at standard odds price. You'll receive $200 in bonus bets instantly, regardless of the outcome of your wager. Just make sure you use bonus code PHNX when you sign up. And speaking of NBA playoffs, join us at the BetMGM Sportsbook at State Farm Stadium for all Suns away playoff games. Our PHNX Suns watch parties presented by Neutral will feature food and drink specials, PHNX giveaways, and BetMGM deposit matches. Join us by grabbing your free ticket in the show notes. The first away game watch party will be April 20th at 6 p.m. for Game 3. So it's going to be a lot of fun out at BetMGM, and there's something in it for you if you come to BetMGM in person. Just saying. And now, listen to Shane talk about the disclaimer.
Disclaimer, 21 plus to wager. Visit BetMGM.com for terms and conditions. U.S. promotional offers not available in Washington, D.C., Mississippi, Nevada, New York, and Ontario. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. Colorado, D.C., Illinois, Indiana, Louisiana, Maryland, Mississippi, New Jersey, Ohio, Pennsylvania, Tennessee, Virginia, West Virginia, Wyoming. Call 877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY 467-369, New York. Call 1-800-NEXT-STEP, Arizona. 1-800-522-4700, Kansas, Nevada. 1-800-327-5050, Massachusetts. 1-800-BETS-OFF, Iowa. 1-800-270-7117 for confidential help, Michigan.
Thank you, Shane, as always. And after breakup day, wrap-up day, whatever you want to call it, the three of us went for lunch at 18 degrees.
We did.
And surprise, surprise, Petey was drinking at lunch.
but it's like it was a celebratory.
Of course.
Yeah.
I only
like
did
we had some big serious work
would
meeting.
have if I wasn't as tired as I was and had to drive
I would
downtown.
have been face down.
Yeah.
I would have if I was invited.
You were busy. You were literally on a show.
That was shade. I think, but he's right. You would have had a beer. And what did I have? I went with the Wow. I went with the Wow because
daytime.
It's citrus goodness in the daytime sun. That's why.
Yeah. It looked really appealing. I think I might have to have one when I get home.
I'm doing the same.
Yeah.
I'm definitely.
Especially after this week, nothing is better than just.
And that's why Four Peaks is so good because there's always a beer
for the
to go with the occasion, the mood, the weather, the whatever it is. There's a beer for it at Four Peaks, and I'm not kidding. They have so many dang beers, and a Wow is perfect for sunshine. And I'll give you the peach during the sun too.
Yeah.
My wife, we may have had some beer left over from the party that we threw. We had a St.
what
Patty's Day
what
party, by
party?
the way. I don't know if anybody knew that. My wife has specific tastes in beer, and she saw the lager, the golden lager. She's like, "What's this? I'm not going to drink a lager. I'm just try it."
No.
She drinks it. She says, "Oh my God,
Yes.
that's really good."
Yes.
It's the best beer they have. It's my favorite one. It's my favorite one.
It's so
my favorite Four
good.
Peaks beer.
It is.
It's so good.
They do have. Those are like 6, 7, 8 beers that they have that I really like.
Yep.
My favorite brewery.
well,
Always has been.
We can go back in 2 weeks for the NFL draft. It's on April 27th at the Four Peaks 8th Street Pub. You can register for free in the link in our show notes to take advantage of beer specials, $3 Redbird Lager pints, $5 Redbird Lager pitchers, and the usual PHNX specials of $3 Kit Lifter and Wow pints. Plus, Johnny and Bo will be out there live broadcasting for the NFL draft. That starts at 2 on April 27th. So join us. If you're going to drink, you must be 21 or older to enjoy responsibly, but you don't have to be 21 to come to Four Peaks. They have great food as well. All right, carrying on with our kind of assessment of the season / takeaways from today. We're going to dive into some individual assessments. And obviously, we could do one for every single player. Mm-hmm. That could be a
We have
week
all
long.
summer. We probably will.
We have a lot of shows. We have a lot of stuff coming up next week. But we're going to talk about just kind of the big ones that stand out on the page. And let's start with Clayton Keller. I mean, he's the guy we've probably talked about most. Obviously, last night tying Keith Tkachuk's single season point record for Coyotes. He laughed this morning. He hadn't talked to him yet, but needs to send him a text. That was pretty funny. But what's your guys' assessment of Clayton Keller's year this year?
I think the biggest thing with Clayton Keller, we talked about it with him this morning, is his ability to evolve his game and mature the way he plays. He's not just a one-dimensional, I'm a high-skilled little guy that scoots around. He's become a 200-foot player. He can defend. He can track back through the neutral zone with his back checking. He cares, and it shows. It wasn't just, gosh, I'm going to outskill everybody. He plays hard. He competes, and he plays with desire. And I think his maturation on the ice is what really made a different player this season, which bodes well for the future because I don't think it was a fluke. I think this is who he is. And I think it will only get better when he's on a team that scores more goals and surrounds him with a cast of crew of players that are trying to win and get into a playoff spot.
That tracking back is one of the elements of his game that I've noticed the most. I remember first seeing it in Rick Tocchet's last season here, where he made a couple plays in back-to-back games. I was like, I've never seen that from Clayton Keller before. I can't help wonder if playing alongside Nick Schmaltz has impacted him in that way, because that is an ability that Nick Schmaltz has that is so underappreciated. He's so fast through the neutral zone both ways that he can get back, lift a guy's stick, take the puck. Down low in the zone is a different issue for both of these guys because they're not physical guys, but Keller has really improved, and it shows that he's just committed to it. He's really working hard to get back on defense. Yeah,
and that's something that Petey actually asked Keller this morning about, and this is what he had to say.
I think, obviously, the coaches always harp on, if you play good D, you're going to ultimately have more offense, and I think, maybe it takes some time to realize that, that it actually is true, and I think, like I said, you learn so much in this league. It's 82 games. You're playing every other night, and I think as the years go on, you just learn the little things. And I really do believe I got, a lot better in the defensive zone and, like you said, being a better defensive player. And I think that's something that, I want to continue to get better at. And like I said, ultimately it's only going to help the team win and be more successful.
It's a player that understands where he fits and he wants to get better and improve. And one thing I thought was funny listening to Clayton Keller today is how much better he's gotten at that.
Being on camera.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's something that he's improved at this year because he recognizes he's the face of this franchise right now. He's a 2-time All-Star. He was really good today, and he's improved at that, and he understands how important it is to be able to put a good face in front of the camera in this franchise, especially right now when they're trying to do things that they're doing in Tempe.
Yeah, he's comfortable in his own skin, and you know what? I credit André for that as well. He's allowed him to emerge by just not beating him down.
The one thing, though, we talked about, I brought that up today, too, when we were talking about the coach allowing to do it or to come from within. I want to make this clear. Because my allegiances are with different people. I've worked for some of these coaches.
Yep.
They understood what Clayton Keller needed to do to improve.
Yep.
Like Rick Tocchet knew he needed to drive the net. He needed to back check. He needed to defend. He tried. It was just the light bulb needed to go on for Clayton. Clayton needed to get stronger. He needed to get more experience. He needed to play with the right players. And the comfortability he has with André Tourigny and the freedom within that locker room to feel and be the player he has become is what's been able to get that out of him. Yep. I don't want to go by here saying, gosh, these other coaches didn't recognize and want Keller to do more, because they did.
Yeah.
This is the relationship right now that works.
Yeah, and like you said, the locker room, the makeup of the locker room matters too. Clayton Keller wasn't a veteran before on those Rick Tocchet coach teams. It's harder to have that voice. It's harder to have that freedom when there are guys that are basically viewed as above you.
Mm-hmm.
Yep, absolutely. Well, there's some debate in the comments about Clayton Keller being named captain. There's people countering with Crouse. I don't know if they're ever going to.
I would have said, and I'll be honest, last summer, I would have said Clayton Keller can't be a captain. I don't think he has it in him. And not a knock on him. That's changing.
Yeah.
He's really impressing me now. And it's something I wouldn't have said a year ago. I can see it. I can see him being a captain on this team.
Yeah. Well, Lawson Crouse is the other name that's often thrown in the captain situation, and he had a great season as well. He set his career best in goals. Unfortunately, didn't get
points.
To that. And points. Yeah, he was one short of the 25 milestone. But we spoke to Lawson Crouse earlier today about just how he evaluates his own season, and this is what Lawson Crouse had to say.
I mean, I haven't really had too much time to dissect my season yet, but obviously proud of taking another step and setting new career highs. I mean, I talked to Craig and Petey and Leah before the season, and I wanted to get to 30, and I was doing everything I could to do that. So, I mean, next year that's going to be my goal again. So, yeah, personally, haven't had too much time to think about it, but I'm sure in the next, couple weeks I'll be able to dissect it.
Yeah, I think he has to be happy with what he did this season, but if anything, I think this gives him more of a hunger to come back next year. Like he literally said, and we all remember, he came on our show and said, I want to score 30 goals this year. And he was so close.
It's a big ask to get from 20 to 30. It really is. It's a big leap. It's a bigger leap, I think, than 15 to 20.
And I think one of the Roaring Fork brings up a good question. If Maccelli is there for those extra games, does he get a few more points?
Wow, that's a good point.
He might.
Yeah.
And I think the other thing for both Keller and Crouse to get more points and more goals is this power play needs to get better.
Nick Schmaltz said that today too.
Yeah, the power play, and that comes down to, it's not always technique and coaching. That comes down to the personnel. And it's got to be the right 5 guys that are experienced with each other, know each other, comfortable with each other, and that takes time. And when I mean time, it's not 20 games. It's years. You look at the best power plays in the league today, and those are teams that guys have played with for years. You look at Boston, Bergeron, and look how long they've played together.
Yeah.
Like it's Marchand, and it's been a decade or more. So that's clearly a big part of that. And I think this team, you'll see them getting a higher offensive output. You'll getting more goal scores, more points as their power play gets better, and that will get better with time.
Yeah, and that some of that will have to do with the blue line too, right?
For sure.
They also shipped out Shane Gostisbehere and Jacob Chicken.
And Jacob Chicken. They're two defensemen that ran the power play. And and I tell you what, the guys that stepped in for that job, Mosier, fantastic. Valimaki, fantastic.
Bill
but they're also
specifically
kids.
mentioned Valimaki today.
Valimaki, I tell you what, and that's where we'll get to talk over the summer on how this youth movement is really, it's real, and they're coming. And I think we should talk about over the summer the guys that are going to make that impact as this
waiver pickup. A waiver pickup.
Crazy.
You don't usually hit on those.
Yeah.
Unbelievable. I mean, the Coyotes haven't really hit on one since Ilya Bryzgalov. Crazy.
Yeah,
Crazy.
That is wild. East Coast Coyote said, I don't know if we can do better than Keller, Crouse, and Fisher as the on-ice leadership right now. As a group, I think they're the heart and soul of the team. I would agree.
I agree with that too. And it's interesting too because one of those guys isn't signed for next year.
Nope.
Yeah.
Christian Fisher.
I'll be diving into that one.
And that's something that's going to be addressed hopefully here soon. And
I think he's so important to this room. I do. I think he's so important.
Yep. We have obviously we talked to Barrett Hayton, we talked to Christian Fisher, we talked to Nick Schmaltz. Stay tuned on the PHNX Sports YouTube channel. We'll have more of those videos coming over the next week, and obviously we have all summer to talk about all these guys. And I think Robert had asked earlier what our show schedule is like. We're still live Monday through Friday, most weeks.
Like we're not Monday through Friday this week because we have to do a Sunday.
Yeah. Most weeks starting soon. For the most part, it'll be Monday.
It's actually Petey's ESPN colleague that's screwed right.
Monday through Friday at 11 for the most part, but just stay tuned on our Twitter and in the Discord because there will be some changes, especially
asterisk.
Yeah, asterisk, and including next week, there are some changes as well.
But there's big things coming up that will change that. Like there's votes and
guests.
Ping pong balls and guests.
Anywho, but I just want to say, obviously, we're going to talk about all these guys, but for the sake of today's show, the last guy we're going to talk about on an individual level is Matias Maccelli. I wanted to ask him about this today. I almost said, do you know that there's a whole thing on Twitter about you being Italian, even though everybody knows that you're not? I wish I did. But I had another funny conversation with him that I will talk about once those videos come out. But Matias Maccelli, I mean, what a season for him in the Calder conversation. Can't wait to find out what happens there. Second in rookie points, only behind Beniers. He was so close to 50 points. He led rookies in assists. And he finally started shooting more as he approached the end of the season. And it was funny. Craig had asked him what he's going to work on. And I think he's pretty self-aware about needing to shoot more. So this is what Matias Maccelli had to say about that earlier today.
Yeah, it just comes from being a kid. And I've always just been that way. But like you said, everybody talks about it. And all the guys chirp me about it. So maybe try to learn how to shoot the puck this summer.
Learn how to shoot the puck this summer.
This is a guy who scored, by the way, in the AHL. He did not have a problem scoring in the AHL. Matias it's not even a problem. It's an admirable quality. He's just deferential to older guys around him. He is a phenomenal playmaker, too. His vision is just ridiculous. His ability to put the puck in tight spaces through sticks is elite. But yes, as André Tourigny continually tells him, you can't be a one-trick pony in this league or guys will figure out how to defend you.
And you brought up an interesting point. Because if we go back to Clayton Keller and Clayton Keller's first year in the league, he got 65 points. It took him 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 seasons to top that. Because what happened was, by year 2, you go, oh, this kid's a pretty good player. We need to defend him a little differently than we did maybe a year ago. Matias Maccelli was pretty much unknown early in this season. People didn't know. I mean, you knew, but yeah, like an American League kid, people didn't give him much of a look when you're trying to defend the Coyotes. That'll be different next year. And how they defend him when he's on the ice. Hey, he's a pass-first guy. We got to have sticks in the lane. Does that change how he ends up on the score sheet? It may. So it's going to be, you talk about that sophomore, the jinx, or you're playing your second year. Well, a lot of it's because other players are aware you exist now. You're not under the radar anymore. You're one of the top rookies in the league. So guess what? The game might be a little harder for you next year. So you better work at it this summer, and you better put the time in. And to your point, Craig, you better have more skills in your bag of tricks. Speaking of bag of tricks, we'll have to talk about Keller again in this magic show. But he's going to have to be a better player than he was this year. And you've got to continually improve because guess what? There's another rookie right behind you trying to take the job you just got. So I hope we continue to see him grow as a player, and I hope he adds that goal-scoring element to his game.
Bag of tricks is a good segue to our next ad read, isn't it, Leah?
Is it?
I mean,
I don't know. I had 2 more things to say before we go. Yeah, sorry. No. Goodness. First of all, did Michael?
I'm just going off the show.
Did Michael just nickname Maccelli Noodles? Like, is that what just happened? Because
I don't dislike that.
Michael, can you confirm if Noodles is Maccelli? Because I kind of love that.
Wow.
We need Matias Maccelli on the show, like in the kitchen with Matias Maccelli.
Oh my gosh.
Like Italian cooking.
Noodles. That is so clever. Because you can't go pasta because of Boston, but Noodles, there was a goalie nicknamed Noodles, but
that's unreal. So Michael, let us know. And the other thing that Matias said, he just about his looking back on a season, he was like, I'm an NHL player now. Last year I was up and down, and now I'm an NHL player. So just even the approach from last season to this season is going to be different from this season to next, knowing that. So I'm really interested to see what he will do next year. And now I will transition. I didn't really know where you were going with that.
Bag of tricks. I mean, OGs, Circle K.
There's a lot.
Take your pick. Well, I will say I got in my car this morning to come to the ice den, and my gas light was on. Literally use circlek.com/door-locator, and I found a Circle K. And I got 20 cents off my gas. By the way, if you have a Fry's card, this is just I'm going off script.
Yeah.
If you have a Fry's card and you use it at Fry's, you accrue points, and you just randomly get a ton of money off gas at Circle K.
There you go.
Just another perk of going to Circle K. Besides, the snacks that we're obsessed with. I'm really excited for our snack cart to get a restock. We really need it. So make sure you're not missing out on all the great stuff Circle K has to offer. Head to circlek.com/door-locator, as I did today. I literally did. And to find Circle K's near you. And if you're watching this live, tonight is Buds-a-Palooza in downtown Phoenix. It's going to
Craig and I'll be there.
It's going to be a blast. I think Sean will, actually.
It's my surprise.
Can confirm.
Face.
Yeah. So Buds-a-Palooza, it's a really fun event. We were out there last year. We'll be selling our new collab shirt with OGs. So if you want to get one, this is your first opportunity to buy this shirt. It is now live. So you'll have to get your tickets to Buds-a-Palooza to get this shirt. You can join the PHNX crew today, as we'll be hanging out with our friends at OGs. And you can buy your shirt. Like I said, I was rocking that shirt on our watch along last week.
Were.
It's really comfortable. A few people in the office are wearing it today.
Yeah, there's a very big Buds-a-Palooza vibe in the office today. There is. I don't know if it's vibing through me, but it's vibing in the office.
Through you.
But so people are pretty jacked about the Buds-a-Palooza. I know Max can't get enough Buds-a-Palooza.
Yeah.
He's pretty fired up.
So to get info, check out budsapalooza.com. And if you want to check out OGs, you can find them at your local dispensary at ogsbrands.com. Must be 21 or older to enjoy responsibly. All right. Let's look ahead at what's next, because obviously we have the off season, and it's a long one. And you look at, we just talked about the team overachieving and maybe surprising us in a lot of ways. So the question is, where do you go from here? And Craig got into a lot of this on his article today on gophnx.com, 10 questions that facing the Coyotes this offseason. So definitely go check that out. But we'll just touch on a couple of them here. What does the team do now?
I'm really curious what this offseason looks like, because I don't think it's going to look exactly like the past two, where it's a matter of letting the core grow and then bringing veterans in to, make sure that they're shepherding them to NHL adulthood, and then you flip those guys at the deadline for more draft assets. I don't think it's going to look quite the same this summer. First of all, we heard the coach and the GM talk about how this core has grown into a leadership group, so you don't need as much of that around them. Secondly, this core wants to win. And we already saw Jacob Chychrun head out. Jacob Chychrun wanted out because he didn't want to spend his entire prime in a rebuild situation. Well, these other guys don't want to spend their primes in a rebuild situation either. I think there are going to have to be some concessions to this core with some of the moves that they make. I don't think it's just going to be about acquiring draft assets. As Bill said today, we're not going to go crazy. We're not going to do something that we can't reverse that sets us back in the future. But I could see them using some of these assets now to acquire young players that can grow with this group. I think they're going to need to start doing that, because, if you play 2, 3, 4 seasons where you just have no hope of winning, no hope of making the playoffs, it really gets tough on guys. They need to take steps forward.
I think what you said there, the key to that was young players. I don't think you're going to look at this ownership group or management group go out and go get a big name free agent for this team yet. That's not going to happen. So nobody be looking for that.
Makes no sense.
No, but if you can get a young player that can grow with this team, look what they did this year. We talked about Valimaki. Kesselring is another player that they hope to have for the future and can go somewhere. This team has shown that they can find those players. Now, does that mean they want to improve? I think you saw that to a man and to the coach. We want to be better. We want to get gains. Don't get too excited. I don't know if you talk about guys having career seasons, and that's Keller, Crouse, Maccelli. There were a lot of career seasons.
Hayton.
Yeah, Barrett Hayton, another career season. Like, they're called career seasons for a reason.
Mm-hmm.
You don't have career seasons every year.
And progress isn't always linear.
Right.
Yeah.
So don't be disappointed if it's a baby step backwards. I think internally, I don't think this team, anybody there thought on game one, day one, this was a team that's going to push for the playoffs. Right. No chance. No. Do I think there are going to be guys in that locker room that think that next year? I do. I think there's guys that think that they're going to try to have a playoff team. Do I think that's going to be where they end up next year? No, I don't. I don't think they're quite ready yet. I think they're going in the right direction. They're building the right way. I think the rebuild is absolutely on track. I feel good about the future. The pieces are starting to fall into place. It's just not next year. And you see the teams that are trying to get there. If you look at the Buffalo Sabres and what they've been able to do through the draft, and Ottawa through the draft, they're not there yet. They're not there. They're close, but they're not there.
So close.
And
like
they're
if they went
years
to they could be
ahead.
A point out of the playoffs.
They're years ahead.
Yes, they are.
And so just, again, it's a little bit of patience. Be optimistic about the future. I just don't know if you can expect this to go from 57 to 70 to 85. I'm just not convinced that's where this team is at today.
Yeah, and it's a very delicate balance. And we did talk about this with Bill Armstrong, and I thought he gave a good answer. Like he literally said, I'm optimistic. He mentioned the young players. He mentioned JJ Moser. He mentioned Valimaki. He mentioned the fact that Clayton Keller is only 24 years old. He said all of that. You asked him in the past, like, this team has been through a lot of rebuilds. Mm-hmm. How do you not get excited? And he acknowledged that that's a thing that happens, but he reaffirmed his commitment to the rebuild. I think, if anything, he said that he realized maybe it's a little bit further along than he thought. Maybe it's not. Don't think like here to here. Maybe think here to here.
But he did say further along.
But he did say further along. So it was interesting hearing what he had to say. And the other interesting thing that he said was, I think that the team will like tell you when they're ready, kind of, for that next step. I thought that was really interesting. But as far as what's next for tomorrow, for next week, by the way, a really funny thing, Petey asked him about rest. And he said, "Oh, last night was my rest."
I got that last night after the game.
My goodness,
it was
that
unreal.
Man never stops. But as far as what's next, tomorrow, next week, next month, this is what Bill Armstrong had to say about what's next.
It's a double-headed monster now. Yes, you have to worry about the draft, but you also hire people to worry about the draft. So you've got to jump in there and kind of have some interaction. But you also, the other side is driving the pro scouts and getting that set up so we can look at acquiring people not only through waivers next year, but we've got to scout the American League. Is there anybody coming out that could add into our group? And then you've got the games in the NHL, the pressure games in the playoffs where there could be free agents that can add into our club. We want to see those guys under pressure. So you've got to keep your pro staff alive along with your amateur staff and kind of have that double focus as you come down the stretch. But make no mistake about it, it's on the amateur side for the most part. Yeah.
He has a lot to manage.
Yeah, there's a lot going on. That draft thing now, that is full in his face right now. Like it's all about the draft. It has to be, and that's where he wants to build this team. He said that's how he wants to build the team, and that's where his focus is, and it'll be here before you know it.
Yeah, but they got to get through all these evaluations too.
Yeah.
They got to evaluate all their current players. They got to evaluate their coaching staff. There's just a ton on his plate.
Yeah, and the Tucson Roadrunners are going to make a playoff run here, and the Coyotes assigned 5 players to Tucson today: Ivan Perez-Vitov, Victor Soderstrom, Michael Kesselring, Milos Kellerman, and Jan Yannick. So look for those guys there as well. So those guys will have an opportunity to be evaluated in that setting. Mm-hmm. Just a lot going on, but I thought it was interesting just to hear from Bill kind of where he sees things.
Yeah, and we'll check in with Potts as well, Steve Potvin down in Tucson, to see how he's going to manage. Hey, by the way, we're about to add 5 players to your current roster, so good luck.
Yeah,
with
which
that.
could be a challenge.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know they're good players, and he welcomes them in, but it disrupts your room, your flow, your lines, the way you've been operating for weeks now. There's a lot of decisions, and those American League guys like Michael Carcone, his contract's up.
Mm-hmm.
He might be.
Yeah, and someone asked if
he might lead the scoring in the American League. He might be the MVP of the league, but can he play for the Coyotes? And can he sign? So
many questions yet to be answered.
And where will you find the answer, Leah? Right here.
Right here. Well, like we said, we have a lot of shows to fill this summer, a lot of questions needing to be answered. Wrapping up here, we talked about Bill Armstrong, but let's talk about Coach Tourigny, who had the longest availability of everyone today.
Wow.
He is a quote machine, and I think someone tweeted at us the other day, like, I would buy a book of Bear quotes, and it's so true. I would too.
Yes.
He's unreal. But we talked about with him kind of his approach, how he evaluates, and I loved this answer. We'll play the video in a second. But Craig asked him, like, oh, are there some things that you want to...
Yeah, he had just touched on one thing that he was going to work on. I said, okay, are there other things?
And
okay.
boy, howdy, were there ever. This is what Coach Tourigny said.
There's plenty there. Okay. There's 2 pages of that on my desk right now. I have 128 points. That give you an idea of stuff I...
That's a legitimate number.
Yeah,
128.
Yeah. That's 128 points of. Let's think about it. Let's revisit it. Let's be better. Let's see if there's something there. Is there not? It goes from our structure, the way we play neutral zone, the shooting mentality. Should we have a little bit more shooting mentality, or we keep the same philosophy? It's some people are sensitive and they're offended when they second guess. I'm the reverse. I'm second guessing everything, and I want to make sure we're not leaving any stone unturned and we're not taking anything for granted. We need to be critic to ourselves first and make sure we know what we're talking about, and we have conviction because we did our own work, and we revisit everything we think could be improved or can be weakness or whatever. There, like you said, there's stuff where we will see what's our personal. Should we change a few things? Should we adapt? But those are not the biggest thing, because we will see when we will have our personal. But we're really critical of ourselves as a coaching staff, and there's in every situation we want to be better.
One thing I really like about Coach Tourigny, I feel like he has a lot of humility, and he's always wanting to be better and improve. And he said the comment before about self-doubt and always questioning. I thought that was really interesting. And another thing that he said, not in this part of the video, but he just talked about how much he loves doing this, loves coaching, and it really comes through. And the fact that he has 128 things. 128 things that clearly, like you mentioned while we were playing the video, he was writing it down as the season went. He didn't just sit down and write 128 things last night.
But it grows. I saw this team do that on a face-off, or gosh, this team had success doing this in a power play, or we can't get in through the zone against this kind of a team. Why not? And those notes build into what he did. It's 128 points, and now he's got months to solve all of them. And boy, I've seen it. Like, they wait till the playoffs come, and they'll watch. Everybody's going to watch the team that wins and go, what did they do different?
And have elite players. Yeah.
Yeah. And honestly, part of it is they got better players than everybody else. Don't kid yourself, or their goaltender was better. But there will be something you go, wow, how were they consistently getting through the neutral zone? How were they consistently getting those shots on the power play? And coaches are always trying to learn, and they're trying to be better. And he's a great example of that. And you know that they're going to evolve here as a team as the players on the ice become different kind of players. You can't coach guys with a skill level like this the same as you can as guys at skill level like this. You can't. Yep. There's different things you can bring into your game. And I just think, again, that just gives you excitement for what this future can be when the skill level and the players level continues to rise. And I think it'll be interesting to see the evolution of what Coach Tourigny can bring too. What can he become? We don't know what his high bar is as a coach. because we haven't seen him in those situations yet. What's he going to be like in Game 7 in the playoffs on the road, down by a goal? Like, that's where you're really going to find out, and it's going to be fun to watch him along that journey.
Yep, absolutely. And we'll get to see him on a national stage this summer because he will be the head coach at the IHF World. So looking forward to seeing him there. And can we say it? Lawson
Crouse.
Lawson Crouse will also be there. So excited to see those two. I think it's in like Latvia and Finland.
Yeah.
That sounds like a fun summer.
I'd go.
100% I'd go. But I think that'll be a really great opportunity. And Bill Armstrong said, for him, he'll learn a lot in those 30 days and be in different sorts of situations as well. And we've seen him on a national stage before at the junior level. So
yeah, he was so heavily involved in Hockey Canada.
I think this is a really, really great opportunity for Coach Tourigny and for Coyotes fans to see their coach in a different setting.
And Shane Doan will be the assistant GM. And there's a handful of other players that could end up in the World Championships. I should have that confirmed by the end of the day. I'll have a notebook breakup day in the morning, but I should have the rest of the names later. There are a bunch of guys that could be going.
Yeah, so even though the Coyote season's over, and as far as the NHL season, there'll be a few more players active. So that'll be another fun thing for us to keep up with as we go into the summer. Yep. Well, Craig just mentioned, what did you call it? A neutral zone or just a notebook?
Just a notebook.
Okay.
Yeah, breakup day notebook.
Yep. So that's coming tomorrow morning on the website, gophnx.com. Free and unlocked.
Free and unlocked.
Free and unlocked.
As is my 10 questions.
Yes, but Craig does have weekly diehard only stories, as do all the talented writers at gophnx.com. So if you want to read those, become a diehard on the website. There's also a lot of great benefits to becoming a diehard. You get 20% off our merch, which, by the way, Petey and I literally both got out of our cars this morning and said, he literally put on a jacket so we weren't matching.
Yeah, so we match all day. Twinsies.
Just saying.
I didn't know that. I didn't know the jacket was worn for that reason.
But yeah, we're all rocking the PHNX gear today. So you get 20% off at phnxlocker.com if you're a diehard. You also get 20% off our events. So lots of perks, as well as access to the Discord, which was my favorite place to be every game this season. So check out phnxlocker.com, grab your membership, receive exclusive content discounts, and access to our Discord. Become a diehard, join the family. Anything else you guys want to say? Obviously, there's a lot more from today. We'll be rolling it out on our YouTube. We'll be rolling it out on PHNX.
There was a lot of stuff.
Coyotes on Twitter.
There's a lot of stuff.
I know we could do a full 2-hour show on just today, but we can't. Any final thoughts?
Is this the way I do it?
Yes.
Grab it by the legs and just go.
Go and do whatever you want.
Crash it like that.
Yes.
Just whack my laptop.
Yes.
Wow.
Yes, it can take a beating. That's what it's for.
Wrong.
No, it's right.
It's right.
It's so right.
Oh, Sean's doing it over there. All right. Well, everybody in the chat, thank you for joining us live. Be sure to hit that like button. Even if you're not watching this live, hit the like button. And if you're listening on audio, thank you. Be sure to follow and leave us a review wherever you get your podcasts. We got a jam-packed schedule coming up. So we actually have a special Sunday show coming this Sunday to preview the Eastern Conference playoffs with Greg Wyszynski of ESPN. Looking forward to that. That'll be at 3 p.m. on Sunday. So mark it down in your calendars. Perfect kind of pre-game before you watch the Suns game 1 on Sunday. The timing kind of worked out well for that. Then on Monday, we'll be previewing the West with Sportsnet's Jeff Merrick. That'll not probably be midday. So just
looks like noon right now.
Just set aside your lunch for that on Monday. And should we reveal the rest of our guests? On Tuesday at noon, Coyotes GM Bill Armstrong will be back to wrap up the show, and then
we still don't have a catchy name.
We need a catchy name.
He's put us on the spot with that.
I know.
Come up with something.
The Discord has had some good ones.
Okay.
And then we'll have Javier Gutierrez back on Wednesday at 11 a.m. To talk about the upcoming votes, since ballots go out next week. So more arena talk.
2 more things too.
Okay.
Like we're gonna talk to Steve Potvin on Tuesday previewing the AHL playoffs.
Yes.
So we'll get that out. And then you have something. You had a really good idea of what we're gonna throw out too.
Yes.
Go ahead.
So if you're hearing right now live, you get to hear about this first. So we're gonna do a Die Hard Choice Awards, where we'll choose the nominees, but everyone will get to vote on a number of categories to be revealed. So we'll put polls out on Twitter, and then if you're a diehard, we want you to participate. And I'll post a message in our Discord, but we want you to participate. I'll put it at that. And if you're not a diehard and you're wondering, how can I participate? like be on our show. There's the hint. Become a diehard, so you can do that. That's going to be later next week, and we'll do the first annual Diehard Choice Awards. There's going to be some really fun categories.
That's Thursday, right?
That's going to be Thursday. We want you to get involved, so it's going to lots of really fun stuff coming up over the next week. All right, well,
Can't wait.
We got to wrap up to let the Cardinals crew in, but everybody, thanks so much for joining us. Subscribe to PHNX Sports on YouTube. Hit the notification bell so you never miss when we go live, and you can follow us on Twitter at SPetersHockey, at Leah Merrill, at Craig S. Morgan, at Sean_DePaz. Follow the show at PHNX_Coyotes. Everybody, enjoy the rest of your Friday. Have a great weekend, and we'll see you on Sunday.
That's a wrap.